How's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm well. I'm here.
Yeah, same. Oh man. So I know we talked a little bit at work earlier about our topic for today, and I just feel as if this getting people to understand that what is the triangle called again? The cognitive triangle, is that right?
Yeah.
Right. Getting people to understand the cognitive triangle is important because they can apply it anywhere.
Hmm.
Like they can apply it to their daily lives, they can apply it to anything that they do. So, do you want to give a quick rundown as to what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the cognitive triangle is that relationship between your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors. And I have a little diagram that I came up with that I can show everyone. Because why not?
Right.
Yeah, I like whiteboards and I don't have the access to that. So, yeah, so like it's basically this is a really bad drawing cognitive triangle, right? That relationship between your thoughts, your feelings, and your behavior. And like a
Right.
little like way to demonstrate it would be this scenario where like you're laying in bed at night and you hear a loud noise. So something someone might think in response to that could be, oh shit, someone's breaking in. They would then feel scared. The behavior would be maybe they would arm themselves, maybe they would go get help, that sort of thing.
Right.
You take the same situation, another thought someone could have instead of, so you're laying in bed, instead of, oh shit, someone's breaking in, maybe they're thinking, it's just an animal in my trash can. We got these damn raccoons. They would then feel annoyed. And
Right.
then maybe the behavior would be they would go back to sleep. So what this demonstrates is like you can have the same situation, right? And then depending on what you think about the event or how you perceive the event, directly influences how you feel and then how you behave.
Right.
Yeah. So that's like it in a nutshell. Is just that how you perceive events influences how you feel about the event and then ultimately what your behavior is going to be.
Right.
Yeah. It's a really simple concept, but like I think we take for granted the role that like our thoughts, and I'm just dicking around on this because it's fun. I don't think we like I think we take for granted like the impact that our thoughts really have on our day to day behavior and functioning.
Yeah, I think that's a key component there. What was the word that you used again?
Which word?
The one that you just said. We underestimate, or what was that word?
Yeah, we like underestimate the importance or the impact that our thoughts have on our daily functioning.
Right.
Yeah.
So how would you apply? I mean, how would you apply that to like real life shit?
Well, like just an example, from like the other day, well, not the other day, but like a couple weeks ago, my wife started this new job. It's awesome. She has a long commute, right? And we're normally really good about like, letting each other know when we arrive somewhere safely. And like that one day I didn't really hear from her. And like my mind immediately went to like, oh shit, something bad happened.
Right.
Oh, I didn't hear from her. Um, which then influenced how I felt. I was anxious and worried.
Right.
And you know what I mean? So, like, day to day, if you can start to identify when your brain goes cuckoo and when you're not thinking logically, you can then in the moment try to stop yourself and, like, collect yourself and change the thought. And then
Right.
that changes how you feel and that changes your behavior. So,
Right.
that's, yeah.
So how about this? How about this? How about I walk into a bar one day
Huh.
and I feel as if everybody is looking at me, and in my head I'm thinking, "Holy shit! Did my clothes not match? Is my hair messed up and whatnot?" And therefore I want to leave. Like I want to go home.
Yeah.
Is
So,
that like a good example?
yeah, that's a great example. Yeah.
Okay.
Cause, like, so when we think about our thoughts, we like your thoughts can be rational, irrational, or rational but just not helpful. So like in the situation you said, I feel like there's some sort of like gaps in the logic that led you to think that they're judging you maybe without evidence for it.
Right.
Yeah. So we call those cognitive distortions or like irrational thoughts.
Right.
And there's
And
different
that's where it all
types. Yeah.
yeah. And that's where it all starts, right? Is everything just kind of starts cognitively. Like everything just starts in your head.
Hmm.
And would you say like a lot of things that happen to you will cause you to think a certain way?
So I think a lot of it comes down to like your worldview also, and like core beliefs about yourself and the world will influence how you perceive events. So like in the example like that you gave hypothetically, um, maybe you're prone to thinking people are judging you because you have low like self-esteem, or you know what I mean? Like, so there's like things about the way you view the world and yourself that can influence how you think and perceive a situation. So like if you have low self-esteem and low self-worth, if you think the world's a dangerous place, those sort of things may make you jump to some conclusions and have different thoughts than someone who say maybe like knows their very self-worth, they like aren't terrified of the world. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if you already think you look weird or like you have bad style or whatever, you may be
Right.
more prone to jump to that conclusion of like, oh shit, these people are judging me. I mean,
Right.
as opposed to if you think you're hot shit, you maybe wouldn't jump to that conclusion.
Right. Right. So so how about this one? Let me give you another scenario. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get into a competitive match of whatever game that you're playing,
Uh-huh.
and someone goes, "Oh, you're fucking throwing the game for us,"
Mm.
and then in your head, this is like, "Am I really throwing the game? Am I playing poorly right now? Like, how do I reinforce that? How do I not think that? Because it's kind of like a team effort, you know?
Yeah, so I mean, I mean, okay, so like there's a couple things I would say on that. Like, so hypothetically, like you could look at the evidence. Like, so one of the thought distortions is you blame yourself for something you're not entirely responsible for. Personalization and blame is like the word we have for it. So I mean, if you actually do then blame yourself for like a loss,
Right.
that was what the territory that would fall under. I would more so just say it's a game and probably shouldn't really care too much about that. But no, but let's imagine you do care and it is like upsetting. There's like different techniques. So I actually have like a document, but we don't have to go through all that. But like there's different techniques you can do to like reverse some of these thoughts. So like in that situation, a cost benefit analysis
Right.
is what I'm sorry, I'm reading this thing. Is one thing you could do.
Yeah.
There may be a belief that you have to always be perfect. You can't screw up. You could challenge that thought. But in the end, I feel like on a team-based game, it's more likely you're not really the reason that you lost. So like in Siege, I've seen this a crap ton where like you'll have, okay, so you're playing it around, you're like the last person left on the team. So it's a 1v5. You kill 3 of the enemies and lose the round, and your team's like, what the hell? You lost this for us. You suck.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you all were dead. Like it was a 1v5. I killed 3 of them. No, it's not my fault we lost. Maybe if you all weren't dead, that, you know what I mean? So like some of it you could examine the actual evidence and look at that.
Right.
Typically all of these sort of thought distortions and stuff that like cause undesired feelings are typically irrational, and there's like gaps in logic and reasoning that led you to that conclusion.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess the point that I'm trying to get at is I feel as if most people have cognitive distortions.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And it's like the majority of the people I meet always have some kind of distortion. And it's really hard to get them to think differently. I know we have our methods, we challenge and things like that, and we reinforce and all that good stuff. But for those who don't know what a cognitive distortion is, and they have this mindset where they're always thinking negatively, they're always thinking irrationally and whatnot. I'm just curious, like, where do you think all that comes from? Like, because when you think about it, like, if people are thinking irrationally, why can't people think rationally?
Sorry, repeat that last question one more time.
I know it's a little bit. So if people are able to think irrationally all the time, like why do you think what do you think is the cause of that? Like why do you think people have the why do you think people are more influenced to think irrationally rather than
Okay,
rationally?
gotcha. So I think a lot of it is the way our brains are wired. So our brains like to take shortcuts, like heuristics and things. So I think our brain likes to find the easiest, most simple answer. And a lot of times that's based, the route that our brain will go to get there is based on our beliefs about ourselves and the world. There's a bunch of different heuristics like that our brain will take to get to these conclusions. So like an example, like there's one, I think it's called the availability heuristic, where we take evidence that are like readily available as like truth. Actually, I'm not explaining that properly. I'm tired. But okay, so I do think though our brain does take these sort of like mental shortcuts to get places. I think also the reason we're prone to think irrationally is because I don't think humans are naturally always rational, right? Like a lot of us like think with our heart, quote unquote. Like we let feelings dictate as facts and truth. We're just not we're not robots. Like we're not programmed to be super rational. I think our world beliefs and world views play into that a lot also. How we view
Right.
ourselves. So I think it's a combination of that. But like you're right that everyone has these thoughts. Um, and I got some good comments already we'll get to. But like so I think that we definitely everyone has these. People who are depressed or have anxiety tend to engage in these more frequently because they also tend to have skewed worldviews, like the world's dangerous, I'm a bad person, those sort of things that help lead them to these faulty conclusions. But even the perfect person with like a perfect bill of mental health will engage in these.
Right.
I'm not saying I have a perfect bill of mental health, but I definitely engage in these often.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you have a question?
Did I have? Oh, like in the chat?
Or yeah, in chat, yeah.
So I mean, like, it's more of comments. Well, some questions. Yeah, like how can CBT attempt to rationalize irrational thought processes, and that it assumes the person with cognitive distortions will be able to rationally come to conclusion to change their thoughts. I mean, CBT teaches you how to do that. So like on their own, most people that are irrational may not come to these conclusions on their own. But there's ways you can teach yourself um, to do that. I think that answers the question. And you're not trying. And I mean, yeah, I think that answers the question. I don't know.
Right.
I'm in a spunky mood tonight, so we're gonna say that answered the question. Yeah,
So do you think this has anything to do with like the way we're programmed?
I do.
Do you think it has,
Yeah,
do you think it has anything to do with our reptilian cortex?
I mean, I do think that like our brains are hardwired for that. Yeah, and like so, not to get like too heady, but like evolutionarily, the brain going from like you mentioned like the reptile brain or lizard brain or whatever, but like that part of the brain, the like fight flight, all the survival instincts in our brain, it's like the oldest part evolutionarily. And as you work up to your
Exactly.
forehead, you get more and more of the rational things that we say make us human. And
Right.
the other parts of your brain do override that often. Yeah,
Right.
they do. I do think we're not in general. I don't think we were designed for like to be like robotic, logical people. Like I think everyone does these things all the time, and it's because I think our brain is lazy and tries to cut corners, and that's why. I mean, it's because it was a survival instinct I imagine in the past, like at some point in time.
So you're telling me, what you're saying is when Twitch chat goes five head, they're actually correct?
When they go five head, I gotta say, like I'm not sure I follow. I've heard the term before, but I don't really get. I don't get
So
it.
when someone makes like when someone does something like not very smart, like someone
Oh,
in
there
chat
being
would
like a
correct
five
them.
head. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and they'd be like, you should have done this five head,
Oh, gotcha.
So
Yeah.
does that mean that's fucking accurate? Is that what you're telling me?
Probably need a case by case basis, right?
I guess so.
Probably. That was a very nice okay boomer moment we just had there. That
Someone
was
say that?
no, it just was though. I was like five head. All right, boomer. Let me explain to you what this five head business is.
Yeah. Oh man. So there's a lot of variables when it comes to thinking irrationally. When it comes to cognitive distortions. So what's something that we can do to kind of mitigate that? I mean, what's something we can tell ourselves or we can do in practice to prevent us from thinking irrationally all the time?
There's a few different things that one can do. Like the most basic, I would say, would be if you're starting to catch yourself being with feelings you don't want to have and you're freaked out or you're really sad about something, stop and like try to check the facts like objectively. That would be, I would say, like the most basic thing that you could do. So like in the example where that I mentioned earlier where I was worried, that my wife didn't make it to work or make it home from work. I don't remember which one it was. It's actually happened both. So like in that example, I literally like told myself like, okay, dude, stop. Like, and then I just checked the facts. Like, do I know she got in trouble? No. Are there other variables that could have influenced why she didn't text me? Yes. It actually ended up being that she was out of data. So like there's lots of like different variables, right? So then I told myself like, okay, I recognize there's some things that it could be instead. I don't have any information otherwise. You need to calm down. Your wife's an adult. She can take care of herself. Like, it's okay. That sort of thing. I mean, and like in the moment, it takes some practice because in the moment, if you're really that worked up, like your brain you may not be able to override that fight or flight, like, holy shit, the world's falling apart part of your brain. But like practice, I mean, like anything else, practice makes perfect. And there's other skills too, like thought journaling is a great way in hindsight to start to see ways that maybe you are being irrational. And it's almost like that situation I had up earlier in that situation, thought, feeling, behavior. Like if you catch yourself getting upset at certain things that you think like, in hindsight are not rational, you can do it. You can track it that way. I mean, there's different techniques that one can use.
Right.
But it all involves checking the facts basically. And like seeing, are there like, and there's 10 different types that like are common distortions that people will experience. And I'm not gonna go through all of them, but it's things like jumping to conclusions or mind reading. So you assume that people are reacting negatively to you without any evidence. Fortune telling.
Isn't what ifs one of them?
Could be, yeah.
Or is that is that part of a different acronym? I don't remember.
I don't either. There's so many damn acronyms. But like, so like the jumping to conclusions, like, is one. Catastrophizing or like magnification, like blowing things out of proportion. Like I get 1C. If your brain, you get a bad grade. If your brain jumps to, shit, I'm never going to graduate college. I'm going to be homeless. I'm going to have to, sell my body. Like, dude, you got 1C. Chill the fuck out. Take a deep breath.
Right.
Like, so that would be another example.
Right.
All or nothing thinking and like black and white sort of stuff. Yeah.
What do you mean black and white thinking? Like it's either this or
that.
Two different extremes?
Yeah. So I either pass or I fail.
Right.
Yeah, there's no in between. There's no in between. You're either good or you're bad.
Right.
Yeah. So there's one question here, like how do you determine if something's rational or not? I mean, like, that's a good question. How does one determine if something's rational or not?
I mean, I think you determine whether something is rational based on looking at all your options. Then you can come to a rational decision, right? So if let's say the example that you made earlier, let's say you were in your room and you heard some rattling outside, and the very first thing that you think was, very first thing that you thought was, oh my gosh, there's someone trying to break in. I'm gonna go arm myself, yada yada yada. If that's the only option you came up with, then I would say that's pretty irrational. Right? But if you worked out all of your options, like, where do I live? what kind of neighborhood do I live in? You know, and you think like, is there a lot of wildlife in the area? Like if you're living in the middle of nowhere, then you've got a lot of options. You know what I mean? But I guess being rational comes from how thorough you're thinking things through. Does that make any sense?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, being rational is just is things that are based on logic and reason. Yeah. So like our Arkham's razor, if you hear hooves, you think horse, not zebra,
Right.
right? Yeah. So like I hear noises outside, it's most likely not like, a serial killer coming to cut my head off and then sodomize my dead body, right? Like that's not like what's most logical. That was graphic,
Right.
I'm sorry. But yeah,
Right.
like, I mean,
Wow. Uh-huh.
apparently we're very American because our first thought is to grab a gun. It's true.
We are very American.
USA. USA.
America.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So I know what we're talking about. Like it's more complicated than we can just teach in a stream. So so if anyone out there is like, and I know someone already is like, dude, I need some like methodologies. Like how is this done? That literally people pay us money to teach them this. So it's not like, and I'm not trying to hold out on you guys, but it's like it's more than you can do in like
Yeah.
what we're hoping more so today is just to highlight the importance of introspection, really thinking about your thoughts, how these thoughts influence you, and maybe a couple tricks along the way. But like, it's yeah.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to link everything together. We're trying to link everything from how you think to how you feel and to how you behave. And it's kind of a cycle. Would you agree that it's like a cycle? Because after you put something into action, then you think about your action, then it kind of starts all over again.
Mm-hmm. Well, everything we do is a behavior, right? So a behavior is anything that can be measured that an organism does. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely like this cycle is like could constantly be happening constantly, right?
Right.
And then we could get into some deeper water if we really wanted to about what maintains behaviors and makes behaviors happen. But that's some people have theorized that everything we do is because it's been conditioned. Like we don't have any free will. Everything we do is conditioned. That's what like Skinner would say. And he actually wrote a book about that. Yeah. Walden 2? I think was the name of the book. But he basically wrote about a utopia that was just fully based on behaviorism and conditioning.
Right.
It's interesting. But anyway, that's like off topic.
Right.
But some people would theorize that. But yeah.
Sure. So
Yeah.
I guess a better way to think. I can see Jeremy's comment in there. So let's say you meet someone very special. Okay, you meet someone very nice. In regards to who it is, and whatever. But let's say you meet someone that you really like,
Sure.
and you guys have been talking for a little bit, and you decide to text this person one morning, and they don't respond.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, you would think this person's not interested in me anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if that's the first thought that you go to, I would say that's irrational. So, but if you were like, okay, well, this person, what if their phone is off or they haven't turned it on yet in the morning? Or what if they got caught up in the morning? What if they were just really busy? So if you kind of work out all your options, I mean, then you would come to a more rational decision. Now, if you had like a pretty rough fight the night before, or you had a really rocky conversation from the night before, yeah, absolutely. So I mean, if you've worked out all your options and you came to a conclusion after working out all your options, then I would say that that is a rational thought. But you also have to take a look at the other events that happened around it. If you guys had a wonderful talk the night before, and the next morning that person didn't message you back, and there's no reason to think that that person doesn't want to have anything to do with you anymore. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So thinking things thoroughly and looking at all your options and really thinking things through, therefore you can come to a what we call like a rational decision.
Yeah. And like, so why would one jump to that conclusion quickly?
Exactly.
That would
Right.
maybe come from like low self-worth. Could be confirmation bias, like, oh, I know that I'm not worth shit anyway. See,
Right.
this person, if she cared, she would have responded quicker. You know, I mean, maybe that's why one would jump to that conclusion. And obviously that's like an extreme example, but
Right. And
yeah,
that's what we're trying to highlight. That is what you would call an irrational decision, because there's no reason for you to think that way. Now, this is a very, like, pretty direct. I mean, this is a scenario that I made up. I mean, there are some scenarios that's going to be a little tougher and a little more confusing for you. But I think the idea is to look at all of your options and to think things thoroughly before you jump to a conclusion, before you start thinking irrationally and so forth. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but hopefully it does. So we also talked about how it turns into emotions,
yes.
the DBT aspect of it, dialectical behavioral therapy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is the correlation between CBT, cognitive, and DBT, emotional?
So what's actually funny is, so like, if you think of, so DBT is a type of therapy that was, created. So, okay, sorry, I was reading a comment. Yeah, so, okay, so like, if you think of cognitive types of therapy in an umbrella, right? There's different kinds under that umbrella. DBT is actually one of those. So, DBT is going to focus much more on when you have upset, like strong emotions, which could be drawn from your thoughts and how you perceive things. How do you deal with those, basically? So it was designed, not to get too much into the weeds here, but it was designed in, like, I think the early 80s to treat personality disorder, that borderline personality disorder, which is all about really unstable emotions, not able to control them. Like, when they feel something, they feel it like, 1,000 times, and it's tough to tolerate. So DBT teaches you different ways to tolerate your emotions, to learn how to like regulate your emotions and like draw them back in. And the skills can be used by everyday people. Like, you don't have to have that personality disorder to benefit from those sort of skills. But that's what it was designed for, was this specific disorder that is just really tough for them to regulate.
Right.
Yeah. So they're similar. It overlaps. Like, they have a lot of overlap. But DBT focuses less on how can you change your thoughts and more so of, okay, you're having these thoughts. Now, how do you stay safe and like control your emotions and like keep yourself in?
Right. So I have to apologize for like the past 60 seconds because I don't think I explained that question correctly. But you were onto something really good, so I didn't want to stop you.
Oh, well,
I guess so. So my initial question was, how do your thoughts turn into emotions? Like, what's the correlation between the two?
dude, I missed the mark on your question like 100% there.
No, I did a bad job explaining. That's why I have to like reiterate. It's not your fault. Like, I completely bombed asking that question because I threw the word therapy in it because I used CBT and DBT, which I shouldn't have. I should have just asked you how your thoughts turn into emotions.
Well, now people know. If anyone's curious, now people know.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's like the antecedent and then the consequence. So I feel like the thought would be the antecedent to the feeling. So the thought like elicits the feeling in you.
Right.
Is, I guess, how most would argue. So you have like the external situation, you have your thought and how you perceive the external situation, which then elicits a feeling in you, and then you behave accordingly. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's like a chain reaction, kind of like, and then just to jump back and reiterate to chat, like, I am definitely not rational all the time. None of us are. We all engage in these sort of things. I just wanted to reiterate that for anyone who missed the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
This is definitely not my sermon of why I'm the most rational human in the world. And,
Right.
no, we all Yeah,
Yeah, we
humans.
lose our shit all the time, bro. Like we lose our shit. At least I lose my shit all the
Yeah,
time.
speak for yourself. I'm stoic as fuck.
Yeah, you are stoic as fuck. But but no. Excuse me, I'm sorry. But no, like
That was in relation to Jeremy making fun of my EG
yeah.
hat.
I know. I saw the comment.
Son of a beach.
Yeah.
Poor evil
But
geniuses
no.
are getting pummeled. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean we're all human. You know, there are times where we're gonna get pissed off. We're gonna get, you know, we're gonna get frustrated, or we're gonna get sad, or we're gonna get really anxious, or whatever other emotion there is. And sometimes we are gonna think a little bit irrationally, you know. And you know, especially when things happen to spur of the moment. Like sometimes you just get that email that sets you off. You know, Don knows all about it.
Oh, dude, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, and it's one of those things where, you know, I'll go up into Don's office. I'll be like, "Hey, what's going on, man?" And then he'll be like, "Hey, did you see this email?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I read it." And
Yeah,
it would just grind. It would just grind his gears. It would chap his ass. You know,
it would. It would fry my pubes.
bleed his lizard. Anyways, but I mean, sometimes we have to talk about these things, and we're only human. So I mean, it's fine if you do think irrationally, you know, or if you feel a certain way. But I think you know, sometimes you just gotta like stop yourself, and it's a lot harder than it sounds. But
And I think this is a good point I should clarify on. So, like, feelings can influence thoughts, but like on a basic chain of events. So, like, in the example that I gave earlier about being anxious about my wife getting to work, right?
right,
I noticed she hasn't texted me. So my thought is, oh shit, maybe something happened. Then I'm anxious. Then the behavior would be I ruminate on this situation and I keep having more negative thoughts, which make me continue to feel anxious and then maybe really anxious and worried. So like they can, like feelings and thoughts, they can kind of be chicken or egg. But typically there's like a antecedent event, then the thought, and then it triggers that chain. So typically you don't just have feelings for no reason. Like you may not be aware of the thoughts, but typically it's a thought elicits the feeling and then you go from there. There's also things called automatic thoughts that maybe are like we're not aware of, like more implicit kind of thoughts. But anyway, yeah, I mean,
right. That sounds kind of like me the past few nights.
you've been ruminating, having some
Doesn't
trouble.
it?
It does. Yeah, no, I mean, it does. Yeah.
I mean, I told you what's been going on with me over the past couple nights, and I think that's exactly what's there's no reason to think that I have fucking heart issues.
No.
I'm 36, you know. So I mean, it's like I haven't been able to sleep at night, and I would wake up a sweaty mess, and my heart would be pounding, and it's just like, oh my god, there's something wrong with me. It's like, no, it's you're just stressed out.
Yeah.
And because of what you're feeling right now, because of what you're going through, you're just telling yourself that, you know, you're going through these things, and the more the more you think about it, you know, it goes back again. It's like, oh, I'm doing this because I'm anxious.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like bouncing off each other. And so you know, and my responsibility right now is to just break that cycle. You know, I keep telling myself it's like there ain't shit you can do about it. You know, you're on your way out. So what's the point in thinking about it? You know, what's why?
Was that comforting, reminding yourself that if it's your time to die, it's your time to die, and just and you're on your way out?
Oh no! On my way out, meaning, you know, where I'm at right now.
Oh, oh, sorry. I thought you were saying like laying in bed. You're like, well, I mean, if it's my fucking time to go, I'm just gonna die. Okay.
Hell no, man! I got too much shit that I want to do. Not right now. Maybe in like 50 years. Not right now though. But no, it's just, you know, they're just things that I have to think about. Struggles that I got. You know. So you got your thoughts, and then you got your emotions. Now, how does that correlate to behavior?
I just realized I was muted. I'm glad I noticed that. Um, so Sorry, I jumped the gun on chat. My bad, people. So I mean, like example, you're asking like how does then how you feel and think influence your behavior?
Right.
Well, I mean, just think about it. I mean, like if you are anxious and scared, you're going to behave in an anxious and scared manner, right? I mean, like if it depends on the emotion. So like fear, you're going to go into that fight or flight. Same with anxiety.
Right.
Yeah. Now, talking about why we do certain behaviors is definitely a more complicated topic than that, because we'd have to get into like why do we do behaviors, different kinds of ways you learn behaviors, like operant conditioning or classical conditioning, which we could definitely spend a whole day on. But
yeah,
interesting stuff. If anyone's ever curious, look up B.F. Skinner or Pavlov and classical conditioning, operant conditioning. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah.
That's a great question. How do you learn not to be anxious? Do you want to start there? You want me to start there?
I can't really speak on that right now because I've been an anxious mess as of late.
So what have you been doing to work on that? Like what's helped you so far?
Progressive muscle relaxation.
Has it really?
Yeah, a little bit.
You had to pause there. You're like, oh.
No, a little bit, because I think anxiety is I feel it more physical than anything else. Like it hits me physically, you know, like the kind of like the higher heart rate, the higher blood pressure, you know, the you know the heart palpitations and stuff like that. It's just like it only happens when I'm feeling super anxious, and I just feel it more physical than anything else. Wanking does indeed help.
It does, for a few reasons actually, and I know that may have been a bit of a joke, but it really does help because I mean, sex in general does. It releases good chemicals in your brain you want, like endorphins, oxytocin, dopamine. So like, yeah, no, wanking, exercise in general is good, but wanking, it's, yeah, no, that works. Wanking it. Yeah. So there's different ways to manage anxiety. Also would depend on, I mean, there's going to be different answers based on what, and I'm not trying to get too much into this, but based on like what theoretical orientation a therapist would subscribe to, they would give you a different answer. I would say to reduce anxiety, you need to examine your thoughts daily, your beliefs about yourself and the world, start to change those, I would say. But there's little tricks like progressive muscle relaxation, wanking it, examining the evidence, things like that can help. But the reason progressive muscle relaxation works, it's based on the premise that muscle tension in your body, it's your body's physiological response to anxiety-provoking thoughts. Yeah. So if you can relax your body, you can relax your mind. The same way deep breathing helps with anxiety. It slows the heart rate. It stops that like pumping of cortisol and like getting your body all worked up. So if you can relax the body, it helps relax the mind. That's the like rationale behind it. Right. That's why when people are anxious, they like their heart maybe beats fast, maybe they sweat, maybe they get tense, you know, they breathe faster. So if you can slow your body down, it'll help slow your mind down. That's the rationale, at least, behind it.
Right.
And there is evidence backing this up. Like it is an evidence-based practice. And there's YouTube videos that can guide you through it. I can send some at some point or post one in the chat for people. Right. But yeah.
Right. So what is... I never really understood what cortisol was.
It's the stress hormone.
I see.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It does all sorts of... Or cortisol, actually.
Yeah.
I spoke wrong. Cortisol is,
right.
Yeah.
Right. It's saying here that I should eat more dark chocolate and bananas. More black and green tea, probiotics in foods such as yogurt, probiotics in foods containing soluble fiber, eating well. I mean, this is lowering stress. I mean, isn't that the issue that we have in the first place? I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it all comes down to stress to lower your cortisol levels, right? Like how to manage your stress and find ways to cope with your stress and so forth. I mean, for me, it's just video games.
To
Play
reduce.
some video games with friends, and my issues just go away
Yeah.
for a good period of time. Video games
So
definitely help.
it's a distraction for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a very, very effective one because I feel normal when I play video games. It's like it's legitimately a good coping skill for me.
Yeah. Distractions are great. So, like, one thing that they teach people in DBT is emotions are like waves. They are fleeting and temporary, and they will pass. So, sometimes a good distraction is all you need because the feeling will pass. So, you have to find something in the moment to kind of just help you ride that wave.
Right.
Distractions are good. Video games help me de stress also. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Even when I'm getting my cheeks clapped, it's still a good distraction and helps de-stress. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's just like, I guess deep down, I mean, unless you're doing it professionally, I mean, it's just for fun and games. You know?
Well, yeah.
It's important, it's not.
So 99% of the population, yeah.
Yeah.
You lose the game, it's not the end of the world.
Right, right. Oh, detachment.
I guess
Detachment.
that could be like a synonym,
Oh, yeah, true.
maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess like detachment, I feel like has a more negative connotation, right? Like you're not really like dealing with the issue. Some issues you can't deal with
I see.
though. Like, I mean, so
Things
like,
that are out of your control.
yeah, there's some shit that like worrying about it all you want, it's not going to change what
Yeah.
would happen.
Right.
Obviously, I wouldn't suggest like not worrying about things that you actually could have an impact on, if you did something. But there's a lot of shit in life that you just can't,
Right.
can't do anything about.
Yeah.
You got to radically accept it. That is not in your control, and move
Like
on.
the shitty things your directors say to you, out of your control. There's nothing you can do about it. You just kind of have to accept that it was said to you.
Waiting on test results.
Oh yeah, that's a rough one.
All the worrying in the world is not going to change what the result will be in a week. So in that sort of situation, distraction would be a good thing because like really you can't do shit about it.
Right. Yeah, you can't. Can't do shit about it. But
So sometimes thinking about a problem can help you get to a resolution. Sometimes it can't though. Like I imagine we could come up with some hypotheticals where you can't think your way out of the problem. Some problems, yeah, clearly. Like I'm not like let's imagine hypothetically, you're tied on money and mortgage is due. Obviously, just being like I'm not going to worry about this because there's no reason to. I mean, like there's stuff you could probably wrap your brain around a solution, come up with some sort of thing.
or your pet shits on the floor.
Or your
That's a
pet shits on the floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, I do not have that
Aware of
problem.
that one.
I can relate to one of my dogs pissing on the floor though, but luckily
go.
they do not shit inside, and if they do, they eat it and clean it up, so that's good.
Jesus.
They don't do that anymore, but my Scottish Terrier used to shit and then try to clean up after himself. It was really disgusting.
I know you.
It's stuck in his beard, and like,
God.
yeah, it's rough. Dogs are awesome, aren't they?
Yeah, I know, right?
They are. They are
amazing,
awesome, but-
majestic creatures. Oh man. You find that not thinking about a problem will help you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of what I was. Yeah,
sure.
I agree with you. Like 100%, I'm on the same page as that. Yeah.
Right.
You can ask my wife. I tend to like be like, that's a future Don Tony problem, not a present Don Tony problem. Because if it's something that like it's just not going to help me, why am I going to sit here and like beat myself up
Yeah.
over something that I can't control at the moment?
Right.
Or at least that's what I try to do. I don't always succeed, but
Right.
that's what I strive for.
So do you want to just give like a quick rundown of what we kind of like just tying this all together?
Yeah, so there's a direct relationship between, according to cognitive theory, there is a direct relationship between how you perceive an event slash think directly influences how you feel and then how you behave. Humans in general are not the most rational beings, so a lot of the times our thoughts will make us upset and have emotions we don't want to have and then behave in ways we don't want to behave. So if we
Right.
can learn to do some deep introspection and examine our thoughts, test the validity with reality, we can then find better ways to think and feel. I feel like that kind of like sums it up really like generically, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was very clinical though.
Okay, so let me try take two. Your brain's screwed up and it's gonna lie to you at times and it's gonna make you feel all sorts of horrible things. But your brain likes to lie to you, so sometimes you gotta check yourself before you riggedy wreck yourself.
There you go.
Is that better? Less clinical?
Sure. Sure.
I
That's
thought
a
it was
better
good.
one.
I thought it was good.
Yeah. That was really good.
Know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's also just one theory of things. So like there's a bunch of different theories to explain human behavior and human condition. This is just a common one.
Right.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you want to add with our discussion tonight?
I mean, if anyone's ever curious, you can look this stuff up online, like cognitive distortions. Cognitive is just a fancy word for thinking, your thoughts. So you can look up like thought distortions. There's videos that can help walk you through more detail of how you actually like identify them and change them. YouTube's a wonderful thing. Just make sure the source is credible. But there's a lot out there. Like a good one's like anything by the Beck Institute is credible. Also, just know that everyone does this. So just because you have these thoughts does not mean you're like you have some sort of horrible disorder or you're like crazy, which I don't like to use that term, but you know what I'm saying. Like everyone has these. People who are clinically depressed or clinically anxious are more prone to this, and these things facilitate the illness. But everyone has this. And of course, it was stolen from philosophy. I mean, all science is, right? I had to chat had to remind me that this all is from philosophy, and I know it is. I mean, you take an intro to psych class, you're going to first learn about philosophers. I mean, that's because philosophy is the foundation of like all science and logic, all of the like. And honestly, so the method as a therapist uses to like challenge someone's distorted thoughts, it's called the Socratic method.
Oh,
it's the Socratic method is what you do. Which is from Socrates, who's a famous philosopher, But yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so techniques of reasoning was like a philosophy class my wife and I both took when we were in college, and
that's cute.
We weren't in the class together, but we both happened to take the same class, and literally all of those logical fallacies. If you translate that into ways of thinking, there's lots of similarities there because it's the same thing. Because it's failures in logic. Techniques of reasoning taught you more about debate, like in arguments, like finding like illogical like premises and arguments. But it's the same sort of thing with your thoughts. So if anyone out there besides my wife is into philosophy and stuff, this will make sense.
Right.
Yeah, and follow.
So I never picked your brain tonight.
You never picked my brain.
When it came to like cognitive distortions, do you have any?
Oh yeah, I just gave you those examples.
No, I meant like real life ones. Do you have any?
Yeah, I mean that example I gave earlier was real.
Oh,
Yeah, that actually happened a couple weeks ago. That wasn't a hypothetical. That actually happened. It happened twice. It once happened with my wife going to work one day, and then there was one day.
oh, that one. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, and then there was actually one. I blundered that softball earlier. What did I
I remember
blunder?
now.
Chat, help me out. I don't know what blunder you're referring to, but I'm gonna go on with my point. So like, um, there was the one I was coming home when I knew she was gonna beat me home. I hadn't heard that she got home yet. Again, it was another one of those things. So yeah, um,
Mm.
I tend to jump to conclusions, not about mind reading other people's thoughts, but just assuming things will turn out badly. I do that a lot.
Right.
Um, like if my boss wants to talk to me, I do immediately jump to like, fuck, what did I do? Oh, she knows that I didn't do this, or this.
Right.
It never ends up being that way.
Yeah. I tend to catastrophize a lot of things.
Yeah, blow things out of proportion.
Yeah. And I think they're, I mean, I can't sit here and be like, oh, they're legitimate ones. Like, no, I mean, there are times where I make things a lot of a bigger deal than what they should be. But I'm working on it though. I'm working on it. And I think for the most part I stay pretty chill. I stay pretty like, even and neutral. But no, there's some times where I have like moments of weakness where I'm just like, fuck, it's the end of the world.
See, I tend to do the opposite of that. I tend to minimize things.
Oh, you minimize things?
Not that big of a deal. Yeah, I tend to do
I
that.
wish I could do that.
Well, it's
I
equally
really
it's
wish I could do
equally as
that.
bad. I mean, it can be equally as damaging and bad.
In what sense though?
So, I mean, okay, so here's an example.
Yeah.
Being not sending off my paperwork for my license. It's not that big of a deal. That could end up being,
Ah, true.
if I continue to minimize the importance of me getting that paper submitted on time, I mean, or paying bills on time.
Right.
Getting it, this isn't a personal experience, but just like getting a DUI, it's not that big of a deal. It's not a problem. I mean,
Okay.
it could be
I
bad
see.
minimizing the importance of things also. I mean,
Right.
double edged sword.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking along the lines of um things that aren't so obvious, like sometimes more complicated situations. Like for example, like I had to talk with one of my directors last week, right? And the conversation didn't go very well. And I'm thinking in my head like, oh my god, I'm gonna lose my job. Like, oh, they're gonna write me up or put me on some kind of process improvement plan, yada yada yada. And when in reality, all they're trying to do is be like, hey, how can we like give you a hand? Like, how can we help you more? Like, what is it that you need from us to help you do your thing? And it's legitimate that they have these worries where it's just like when we ask you to do something and we see that it's not done, of course they're going to be like, how can we do to make sure that this is done? You know, but
Yeah, so you jumping to that conclusion, what did that do to you? So like when you were like assuming um when you were assuming that your boss was going to like, lay into you and fire you, like how'd you feel?
I felt super anxious. I felt really anxious. I felt a little defeated actually. Again, I felt defeated because of everything that I've been doing and all the efforts that I've been pouring into our facility. It's kind of like you guys respond with the one thing that I wasn't able to do in the timely fashion that you guys wanted me to do. You know, so it was to a point where it was just kind of like, if I royally fuck something up, I mean, by all means, write me up for it. You know, but when it came to what they were talking about and what we discussed over the phone, I have a very legitimate reason as to why I didn't get around to it.
Mhm.
You know, we put up with a lot of bullshit where we work.
Yeah, we
And
do.
these are things that we have to, these are things that I need to address so it doesn't fucking ricochet and hit other people. And I don't think that's something that, you know, the guys up top understand. Like we have a census of 8 kids. And it's been consistent over the past year and a half. We caught maybe a 1-month break, 2-month break total out of the year and a half that we've been operating at a full census. That's 8 kids that we have to take care of. So, I mean, I'm not sure what they were expecting. We have 8 kids. That means we have a full staff. And when we have a full staff, that means we're gonna come across some issues. Some of our staff is gonna butt heads. Some of our staff is not gonna, you know, they're they're under a lot more pressure too, because again, they have 8 kids that they gotta look after, and they have to, you know, do what they need to do every night.
Yeah. So what was your behavior? You knew that you had to talk to them. You thought, oh shit, they're going to fire me. You felt anxious. What was the behavior?
Right. So the behavior is something that I chose to do, or something that just happened to me physically.
So, I mean, it could be both.
Right.
Yeah. So, like, examples could be like pacing, eating 5 gallons of ice cream. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's different behaviors or
Right.
anything that could be measurable and observable in an
Right.
organism. Yeah.
Right. I don't think there was an actual behavior that stemmed from the talk last week. There wasn't a behavior. There was a result.
No,
There
I
was a physical
mean,
result.
before you had the talk, when you were like thinking they were going to fire you and you were anxious. Like,
Well, I thought that after we had the talk.
oh, even after you had the talk, you were like, oh shit. Oh, this was after the talk.
Right.
Okay.
This was after the talk. That didn't go very well.
Dude, my brain tonight is Jello pudding. Okay, so
No,
it
it's
was
fine.
after the talk. So then, what was the behavior? What'd you do after the talk?
I just kind of stood there with my thumb up my ass. Like I can't believe that they're just like pinning this shit on me. You know?
That's a behavior. Sat there,
Yeah.
you sat there and you ruminated.
Yeah.
That's a behavior. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't particularly go and do something. You know, I went inside and I sat down, and all I did was just sit there, and I just thought, and I was just thinking and thinking and thinking.
Well, that's behavior.
Yeah.
Did you get fired? Did you get fired?
No.
No. No, you
No,
didn't.
because they can't afford to do that.
That is true. They can't afford to lose either of us. That is true.
Yeah, they can't afford to lose anybody at that facility right now. I mean, I know it seems messed up, but the counselors are expendable. You know, the counselors are expendable, but the treatment team is not. And the most valuable one there is the PD and myself. Like
That is true.
They're not going to want to lose either of us. Unfortunately for them, you know.
Yeah. Well,
But I don't want to. I don't want to get into that tonight. That's a
Yeah.
conversation for something else.
yeah.
And I think that is a great topic. How can we improve the mental health industry? How can we make it better?
That is a good topic.
And just throwing out these fucking crazy ideas and see what sticks. Because I am solely disappointed with how this industry operates, how our company operates, and the clusterfuck that we have to put up with every day. It's just, oh my god! Like if you diarrheaed into a flower pot, that's their organization. That's how organized this industry is.
It's a mess. It's a mess in lots of different ways too. I mean, to be fair, it's come a long way from where it used to be. I mean, literally, like if you go way back in time, it was like a sideshow.
Yeah.
They would literally keep in sanitariums and stuff. They would literally keep people like behind bars, and you could pay to go look at them like it's a zoo. So we've come a long way, but it's still really shitty in many ways, both for clients and people who work in the field.
Right.
Yeah, like it's shitty across the board. I mean, it's definitely better than it used to be, but there's lots wrong. All the way from like our healthcare and actually being able to afford the service, all the way up to even if you can't afford it and you get your foot in the door, there's all sorts of The only job I've worked in the field that I thought was not fucked up, completely fucked up, was private practice, but it was also fucked up because it's not attainable for most people.
Right.
Like I know when I was in private practice, I'm not saying I got all this, but I didn't take insurance. People paid out of pocket and it was expensive. Like the place I worked for luckily did income driven and like a sliding scale. So more people could get help, but like still like the base rate was like 115 an hour, which most people, I mean, I couldn't afford that. I can't afford that now if I and most insurance doesn't pay for therapy.
Right.
So I think it's a really multifaceted fuckery that is the mental health field.
Yeah.
It's all sorts of screwed up.
Yeah. But
what can you do?
What it is, What can you do? Nothing.
Well,
Can't do anything.
Is that true?
Well, not entirely.
Not entirely. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. But yeah, we do what we can. But yeah, it's just I have my ambitions, I have my aspirations this year, and I'm very close to accomplishing it. So I'm gonna be finishing up everything. We all got to meet soon. We're gonna meet soon. I was planning on meeting, getting everybody together on, I believe February 15th or February 8th.
So I cannot do the weekend of the 14th because it's the Rainbow Six Invitational.
Ah, that's right.
And my birthday weekend, so I'm definitely not going to be available. Yeah. But now the 8th, I'd be available.
Yeah. Yeah, we can get together.
Well, what day of is that like the Saturday before? Math hard.
It's a Saturday before. Yeah. Saturday before.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We could do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, no, that weekend I'm going to be sitting on my ass watching professional Siege players. Yeah.
Yeah, do it too, dude.
And then I'm hoping the next year to maybe be there. But like, why does it got to be in freaking Canada in the winter? Like that to me seems like.
I'm curious how they choose these venues.
Well, I think their corporate headquarters is in Canada.
Oh, Ubisoft, that's right. They're a Canadian company.
I think so. Chat could correct me very quickly here. I think they are though.
I swear Ubisoft is a Canadian company.
It's in Paris.
Oh, it's in Paris.
But that makes sense though, right?
Oh, okay.
Because Canada.
Oh, that's fascinating. I did not know that. For some reason. Oh.
Then why can't it be in Paris in the winter? I'd much rather go to Paris in the winter than.
Right?
Yeah. Like wasn't. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, dude, you go.
What I'm saying is it not big in Paris? Rainbow Six Siege, scene is not in Paris.
Europe, it's pretty big. I mean, dude, I'm not saying France is on my top 10 list that I would ever want to go to, but like I'm a little terrified of your guys' negative like 50 degrees winters and like me having to pack a parka and like look like the abominable snowman. Yeah. How cold was it last year? It was like negative 30 or something, right? Enough that like, you spit and it freezes like mid coming out of your mouth. Okay, I was close. Negative 35. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Now that's Celsius, right? Negative 35 Celsius. So what would that be Fahrenheit? Math hard. I don't know. Do you know the conversion rate, anyone? Bueller? You there, caller?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Wait, you're asking the Asian guy to do the math for you?
I mean, no, maybe. I just didn't know if you happen to know.
Oh, well, negative 35 Celsius is negative 31 Fahrenheit.
That's still cold as shit. Like, that's horrible.
Yeah, it is.
No, that's horrible.
That is terrible.
Yeah, that's fucked. We lose our shit when it drops below 32. Like, honestly, like for us, when it's like 18, we're like, oh fuck, man.
Yeah, man.
Anything below 0, we don't go outside.
Yeah, it's the end. It's the apocalypse.
It is, yeah. God.
That's funny.
I would still be willing to suck it up and go. Maybe next year. I gotta get a passport and stuff like that. But
right.
Yeah. Anyone have any questions? Comments, concerns, grievances, anecdotes?
I mean, I don't have
Dude,
anything else
-5 is, there's no way -5 is shorts and t-shirt weather. There's no way. That's below freezing. Because in Celsius, 0 is freezing, right? Yeah. That's the whole thing. 0 is freezing in Celsius. It is, because that's 32 for us. Okay. Man.
Yeah.
I know you're not naturally a Canadian, but you Canadians.
Yeah. All right. I guess that's it for tonight.
Yeah, I don't have anything else unless anyone has any questions.
Yeah.
I can't take any more of the Canada.
Yeah.
Oh man, that reminds me of Twitterless Nathan. He used to always just wear Birkenstocks with no, like in the winter.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, honestly, whenever we can get you, we would be happy to have you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. I know you. I know you got some confirmation to do at work. But after, if everything is all good, yeah, man, we would love to have you on.
Absolutely.
I feel like you're our celebrity who comes and hangs out with us every so often.
Well, we liked fucked up stories, so we do like the stories that are interesting, sometimes fucked up.
Yeah, I think a lot of these stories will be fucked up.
Yeah.
But hey, you know, that's why we do this. We talk about these things because, I mean, yes, I mean they may come up as, you know, fucked up, but you'll be surprised how many people have these kind of stories. And you know, we want to eliminate the stigma. You know, we want you to be able to tell the story with, you know, with pride. And, you know, and yeah, there you go. We just want people to feel judged.
Yeah.
So everybody's got their struggles, man. I feel it.
And then just the disclaimer: we wouldn't actually be doing real therapy. It could be therapeutic, but we ain't gonna be. I ain't gonna be doing real therapy.
Yeah.
It's unethical.
Yeah, that is.
But it can be therapeutic, like just the act of like unburdening yourself, telling, you know, your narrative, your story. It can be therapeutic regardless. Sometimes just having someone that you talk to, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I know, like in our current job, I don't get to do it, but when I was in private practice, there was definitely some days when it was simply just, I was just there for someone to talk to. I had one client that would always come in and just bitch about his World of Warcraft guild. And I'd always be like, are you sure this is what you want to talk about? Like, you're spending $100 an hour. Is this really what you want to discuss? And the guy was like, yeah, man, I need my guild drives me crazy. And I was like, all right, dude, let's talk about World of Warcraft for an hour. You know,
Yeah.
Sometimes just having someone to talk to helps.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely helps.
Easiest client I ever had. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just gotta stay social. That's my biggest thing. You know, I want to talk about stuff. You know, I have to talk about it. If I don't, I just ruminate on it, and I just want to like get it out. So, yeah.
Well, it'll be an interesting story for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to hear all about it, man.
But does anyone have any final thoughts before we close out for the night? If anyone's just now tuning in, the VOD will be up like the moment we're done. And then tomorrow night it'll be up on my YouTube. And I'll post it on Twitter. But
yeah.
And then next week we'll be back. I'm not sure the topic yet.
Yeah. We've had a couple lined up. And
Yeah.
I think we can. I think we should probably try to think of the topic earlier, so folks can actually um, think of some questions, because the topic that I'm thinking of next week is going to be a big one. So but we don't know 100% yet, but we'll throw it out on Twitter.
Oh yeah. I actually don't recall what we discussed, but I'm sure it will be a big topic and a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
one day, and we'll definitely put this on Twitter ahead of time, but we want to do a whole episode when we get to like episode 10 of just viewer questions or thoughts. So we'll like
Right.
in advance, we'll like start to like put the feelers out and have a way for you all to submit questions or topics and stuff. But
Yeah. 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 And you can always go back and listen to the other episodes that we have. And if there's anything else that you guys want us to talk about, anything else that you want us to address, it's probably best to go back and listen to our VODs from before. And if you feel as if you want to correct us on something, or you feel as if we missed something, I mean, reach out to us and let us know, and we'll circle back around on it.
and I'm sure there's always errors that could be corrected if anyone wants to go back and look. Because we typically, I mean, we have a topic going into this, but a lot of this, I don't want to say is ad lib, but it's on the fly. So there's always going to be a margin of error here.
Right.
And some stuff is just our opinions, like, when we ruin historical figures.
Yeah.
We haven't done that in a while, but
Yeah.
I was about to ruin one now, but that's okay. I was trying to think of someone I could ruin, but it's okay.
Yeah. We could ruin someone next week.
Fair enough. That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, we'll be back
right.
same day, same time next week.
Yeah. All right, Don's chat. I'll catch y'all later.
Yep. Thanks, everyone, for coming by. We appreciate it, as always.
Yeah. I'm going to say goodnight to my chat. I'll catch you tomorrow, Don.
See you, dude.
All right, man.
Well, thanks again to everyone who came out. I appreciate the support. And yeah, I'm going to be going to bed. Tomorrow I'll be back just playing some Siege. And then on Sunday I'll also be playing some Siege as well. But yeah, usual plugs. Follow me on Twitter @Dontoni_Lamb. Thanks everyone again for coming out. Take it easy.